Hello, everybody. This is Tyler Preston 20. I'm going to interview Skepto about her experiences about Mormonism as well as Islam. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks.
Great.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Can you explain to me what happened in the past in regards to Mormonism?
My life in Mormonism, because I was born into the Mormon church from the beginning. Like the second prophet of the Mormon church is the person that I'm related to. So kind of like Mormon royalty. It's a big deal in the Mormon church for whatever reason. But and I was a Mormon up until I was 19, and then I converted to Islam.
Did you actually believe in the Book of Mormon?
Yes, yes. I was a very firm believer in when you're raised in that church, you're taught not to question and not to think. And so I never did. I just believed whatever I was told. And there's some pretty crazy things in that church. But yeah, I didn't question the Mormon church until after I left Islam and I went back to the Mormon church because it was more a cultural thing than a religious thing. I didn't have anywhere else to go. I had left Islam and I'd left everything I knew. And I needed to go home and I needed to go with Mormons because that's what I knew. But at that point, I didn't really believe in the Mormon church. But when I resigned, because you can't just leave the church, you have to actually send in a letter and say, I don't want to be Mormon anymore. So they leave you alone because they'll find you wherever you move. They hunt you down.
Do they actually shun people after they want to leave or something?
Yeah, I lost 60 to 70% of my family when I resigned. I had to put in the letter and then I formally announced it, actually on Facebook, that I had resigned, and I got dumped by everybody.
So basically, if anybody were to just leave the church, basically no one can actually see you again.
Well, it depends. It depends on how fervently the Mormons believe in the Mormon faith. It's just when you leave the Mormon church, you break the eternal family chain because it's all about the family. So you're sealed to your family for time and all eternity. So if one person breaks that chain, it destroys the whole family. That's kind of like what you're taught. And so it's a huge deal. And they don't necessarily not see you. A lot of my family won't see me at all. But it's not taught to not talk to you at all, but it's taught to shun because shunning will bring you back into the fold, supposedly.
Earlier, you mentioned that there were crazy things within the Mormon church. Like, what kind of crazy stuff?
Oh gosh. Well, the beliefs are pretty crazy. They don't believe in polygamy anymore, but they believe that if you're pious enough that and righteous enough that you will go on to become a god of your own planet. And as a woman, heaven for me would be on that planet with multiple wives producing spirit babies for eternity. That's my heaven.
That's in the Book of Mormon?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless here. But
it's the three kingdoms, 3 degrees of glory: celestial, and terrestrial. And in the celestial kingdom is where it's for the most righteous people. And those people go on to become gods of the men, go on to become gods of their own planet. And then I'm not sure where all the wives come from because men could be sealed to more than one woman in the temple on earth, but women cannot. So the men can have as many wives as they want, but the women, you're only allowed one husband at a time.
Unbelievable. Just a limited number of women to be married to one guy.
No, it's unlimited.
What? Oh wow.
Yeah. It's not even like Islam where you're limited to 4. Because my relative had over 100 wives.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. My grandfather had 3 wives. He was a fundamentalist, so he took my family kind of took a sharp turn towards fundamentalism at some point between my great grandfather and my grandfather, and then my dad was a mainstream Mormon, so he did not adopt the fundamentalist lifestyle.
What are the other kind of beliefs within Mormonism?
Well, it's really a patriarchal religion. So as a woman, my son, it has more rights than I do. So at the age of 12, a boy gets priesthood powers. And Mormons really believe in powers. Like, they believe that the prophet talks to God literally, and he's the head of the church. And after he dies, they'll appoint a new prophet. But boys receive the power of the priesthood, where they can give blessings and receive revelation from God. You know, if they pray hard enough, I guess God talks to them. And so basically, in God's eyes and in the church's eyes and everyone's eyes, my son at 12 has more rights than I have, as just simply by the sheer nature of him having a penis.
Wow.
So,
like, have there been any kind of women leaders within the church at all?
no, women aren't allowed to hold leadership positions. I mean, they didn't even let Black people be members of the church till 1978.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, didn't they have that before?
Yeah. And now it's the children of gay people cannot be members of the church. That just happened in November.
Speaking about Mormonism and racism, like, was it true, like, in the Book of Mormon that it says that Black people were turned black because God was angry?
The mark of Cain. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds incredibly racist, actually.
And I don't even know that part is in the Book of Mormon, because I've argued this with, being an ex-Mormon for a long time. I argued with Mormon apologists, and I don't know that it's doctrine, but I don't know that it's actually specifically mentioned in the Book of Mormon that they made God mad or that they had the mark of Cain. No, it is mentioned they made God mad, but I don't know about the mark of Cain. But from the time that I was a little kid, we were told to avoid Black people because they had the mark of Cain, because they were less valiant in the pre-existence, which means, because Mormons believe that everyone existed in heaven as spirits before you come down to earth and get a body. So they call it the pre-existence. And the people that are valiant in the pre-existence would be given bodies of white people. And yeah, so you're more and they also taught at one time that the more righteous and pious you are, your skin will actually literally lighten. Literally. They don't teach that anymore, obviously, but they did for a long time, because it's in the Book of Mormon. You will become white and delightsome.
Also, is it true that within the Mormon church they actually baptize dead bodies too?
Not the dead bodies. I've been baptized probably for about 400 dead people. They take the child at the age of 12 and up, or 13 and up, something like that, around there. And they take you to the temple, and they have a big bowl with a couple stories off the ground by a bunch of oxen around it. Like, it's carved out of stone or marble or whatever. And you go into this big bowl, and they baptize you for and behalf of this person's name, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. And then they dunk you, and then they do it again. And these names pop up on a monitor. So, like, everyone I got baptized for had the last name Garcia. Every single person. So, and it's like 25 to 30 people at a time. So you just keep getting, because Mormons, it's baptism by full immersion. So you have to plug your nose, and they dunk you back, and they just keep doing it over and over again. And then they take you to McDonald's, and you go home, and supposedly you've saved all these dead people. It's great. They also marry dead people.
Are you serious? Marry dead people?
Yeah. You will be baptized Mormon at some point in your life, if you have not already, like your family members and stuff, and anyone else out there. You will be baptized Mormon at some point. And even living people sometimes get baptized by proxy.
So a person, for example, in their family decides to convert to Mormonism, they'll just baptize the dead body of that said family member.
Well, no, the age of accountability starts in the Mormon church at the age of 8. That's when you can get baptized. If you decide to convert, you physically can get baptized. You can choose to go to the temple. The whole reason for the temple, and that collect 10% of your income. You're not allowed to go to the temple unless you pay your tithing. And they actually make you prove that you're paying 10% of your income. Then, and they also teach that you can't go to the celestial kingdom unless you've been to the temple. It's very convenient. So you go to the temple and you do all this temple work. And the whole point of the temple is for baptisms for the dead, endowments, so that you go and you are given a special name that only supposedly can be recognized in heaven by you. The special handshakes, and you get pulled through the veil to symbolize the death experience. And you get, not anymore, they used to anoint you with sacred oil for fertility and stuff. But so everything the temple revolves around dead people. And unless you're getting married at the time, and that's like a ceiling, but it's only the one time. So mostly the repeated visits to the temple are for dead people, temple work, they call it. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, and also, is it true that you had to wear magic underwear too?
Yes. Yes.
Like, what's the magic underwear for?
They're called garments, and you only get them after you've been to the temple. And they have symbols sewn because Mormonism is based on Masonic teachings too. With it, they have the secret handshakes, the sign of the nail, and all these different handshakes that the same thing as the Masonic handshakes, basically. Because Joseph Smith, the founder of the church, was a Mason. So in the garments, in the corners of the garments are symbols like the compass, the cross, but not the cross. It's like a plus sign, because Mormons don't believe in the cross. They won't have anything to do with it. So they have all these symbols, and it's supposed to protect you. It's like a fire insurance. So I actually was taught as a child that if you wore your garments, you couldn't die. Like in an accident, you would be protected, or people that did die, the part of their body that was covered by their garments wasn't burned in a fire. Like that's supposed to help. They're dead, but for some reason, if they're super magical and powerful, you're not allowed to take them off for anything. Except for sex and bathing.
Is it also true that they also claim that Jesus was also from Alabama or something?
No, Jesus, it's the same story. The Book of Mormon is where instead of being in the Middle East and things, Jesus came to the Americas. So it's the Nephites and the Lamanites, and they were in South America. And he came to this part, all of the Americas, and it's his teachings with these mythical, magical people that existed in the Americas that they have no physical proof ever existed.
Wow.
So all these people that Joseph Smith just made up are crazy. And he translated the Book of Mormon with a stone, a keepstone. He put his head in the hat because supposedly he had these golden plates that an angel came down and told him, go find these golden plates. They're buried in a hill in New York. So he went and dug them up. He was a treasure seeker at one of his hobbies, or he made money. He supposedly hunted for buried treasure. So he had a peepstone that helped him find the buried treasure. So he used the peepstone to find, or the angel told him where the Book of Mormon was. So he took it home and he put his head in a hat with a peepstone and he translated the Book of Mormon. And that's how the Book of Mormon came to be.
You cannot really make this shit up, I swear.
I know, right? So people are like, how did you go from Mormonism to Islam? I'm like, dude, it was so easy. I was already brainwashed and dumb. So it's just like, it was just a nice slide right into the other one. It was just, nothing was crazier in Islam that I heard in Mormonism. Nothing.
Exactly. Like, when you started to deconvert from Mormonism to Islam, like, how did your family react to it?
Oh, they didn't. Well, I kind of didn't tell them. So they found out after the fact, I couldn't tell them. There's no way. I would have lost them at that point, and I wasn't ready to lose my family. So I wasn't real honest about it at first. I just disappeared and got married and became a Muslim, and I came back in hijab, and they were shocked and angry and sad. My dad cried.
Like what kind of stuff? What kind of stuff did they say when you came back as a Muslim?
I was an idiot. How could I? How could I defile just the wonderfulness that is the Mormon Church, and that I've ruined the family, and I'm eternally damned. And at that point I'm an apostate from the Mormon Church, so it's called a son of perdition. Same thing with girls, and I'm the only person that Mormons don't believe in hell. There's no hell. Except for apostates.
Wow. So just apostates, there's just hell for them.
Yeah, there's not even for molesters or rapists or murderers or, the worst people you could think of, that somebody would spit on a starving kid and slit their throat. Anyone like that, those people go to heaven no matter what. But apostates, they're the bad ones.
Like how many levels of heaven?
There's 3.
Okay. And like what are the 3?
Well, there's the celestial kingdom, and there's the telestial and the terrestrial. And it just signifies like different degrees of glory and greatness. Like the better you are, the higher the kingdom you get to. So, but I was even told as a kid, like even I would murder myself just if I was ever shown a glimpse of the glory of the lower kingdom. Like I would kill myself to get to it. It's so amazing. And that's where the rapists and the murderers and the scumbuckets, you know, the bad people go. The chicks that beat up their boyfriends, you know, the bad people.
Like looking back, were you influenced to join Islam because of your ex-husband?
Yeah, absolutely. I was investigating it a little bit before we got together, because I had some aunts that were married to Muslim dudes from Libya and Egypt. So I had been raised with the culture whenever I went to go visit them, and it became romanticized to me. It was exotic and different, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I started investigating it. I went to the mosque a couple times, started talking to some sisters. There were some men that were interested in me, very interested. They just wanted passports and citizenship to the UK. That's all they wanted. But then I met my ex, and he basically told me he would not marry me unless I was a Muslim. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna be a Muslim.
Like, did you have to take like Quran classes and things like that?
Yeah, I took classes to learn how to pray, because the prayers it's kind of extensive to learn how to do that. And I took Arabic classes so I could try to learn how to read Arabic, and I took Quranic classes.
Like what kind of prayer? What kind of prayers do they do?
Well, it's like the normal it opens like A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. That's like the very beginning of every single prayer.
I think I heard Satan in there.
Yeah. I always thought they were talking about me, because they used to call me the Godi Shaitan, the white devil. So for years I was the white devil that stole the boy. I shouldn't have stolen him. But yeah, it's just Arabic, and all you're doing is you're prostrating to Allah, like God, and saying, you know, that you worship Muhammad, or not literally worship Muhammad, but Muhammad is his messenger, and that there is no God but God. And you do it 5 times a day. That's the minimum, is 5 times a day. But there's actually more if you want to be a really good Muslim. And it's a total, I think the 5 times a day is a total of 17 individual prayers, because you repeat prayers. And then, and it's just verses out of the Quran. It's nothing like crazy or anything. It's pretty.
Like when you were studying the Quran at first, were you just studying the earlier Quran or the later Quran, or both at the same time?
Both at the same time. Actually, I started with Hadith, because I was so lost. So initially I started with Hadith, like Al-Bukhari and stuff.
Wow. So even with the Hadith, and after reading that, you still were convinced that it was actually the true religion?
Yeah, it actually convinced me even more.
Huh. Wow. So you became more radicalized as a result of it, right?
Yeah. The longer I went and the more I researched Islam, because I was in a very Islamic environment, and there was the years that I spent over like in Pakistan, because I was so, I started to think that Jews really did do everything bad in the world. Like I really started to hate Jewish people, and it didn't make any sense. But it's like yes, I was easily brainwashed, and yes, I was easily led at that time. I didn't have any critical thinking skills, but at the same time, I was inundated with that constantly, from the mosques, from the people around me, the anti-West sentiment. I apologize for terrorism. I said that it's the result of the West's behavior, and that all they were doing was defending themselves. Innocent people died, and I defended that. And it's like, but you can't. The brainwashing is so strong, and if it's all you're exposed to all the time, I don't know how it happens, but it happens. And I saw it happen to many people that I had gotten to know, converts. You know, a lot of Westerners had come over, and Americans and Brits, and I watched their lives get destroyed. All of us, all at the same time. But they became very extreme too. Like a bunch of us out of like, there was, I was this member of this group for people married to Muslim dudes. And there was like half of them wound up wearing burqa or niqab in the end. Half. And then, and like 15 years later, there's 2 marriages left.
Wow.
That's it. And a bunch of them lost their kids for good.
That's just sad. What kind of experiences do you have in these other Middle Eastern countries during your time as a Muslim?
Well, we moved a lot. My husband became very extreme towards the middle of the marriage, and he had some ties to people I disagree. Well, they were bad people. They were very extreme, and we had to move like every 6 months. So I got to experience life in a lot of different places, like France and Belgium and Spain and Pakistan and Qatar, and spent a tiny bit of time in Afghanistan, just visiting like his mom's family, because they're from India and Afghanistan, and then the dad's family was from Pakistan, initially India. So I saw in Saudi, I went on Hajj and Umrah. Hajj is the pilgrimage that you do, you know, the once in a lifetime. Umrah is the same pilgrimage, but it's not during Hajj. So I did that twice. My ex-sister-in-law lived in Saudi, so I went to go visit her, because there was a time when I was speaking out for myself and trying to assert some dominance in the relationship, and he sent me away to Saudi to live with my ex-sister-in-law so I would learn to behave myself. So I spent months in Saudi with her in a compound. Her husband worked for a big company. They were foreigners to Saudi because they were from Pakistan and India, but they had a lot of money, so it was a nice life. At least got to do a lot of shopping. But I didn't even realize at the time how controlled I was. Like, I was okay with it all at the time, I thought. So I witnessed sexual harassment, and Western women think they're sexually harassed. Like, are you kidding me? You can't, in a burqa, you walk into a market in the middle of, say, anywhere, Saudi, Qatar, Pakistan, if you're covered up completely, you are still going to get your boobs pinched, groped, your butt pinched, groped, people grabbing you, trying to pull you out of the crowd to harm you. You can, it drives me crazy that women here complain so much about things that aren't really issues here. And there are women overseas that really need help. They really need feminists to sit there and help them, and they ignore the plight of the women overseas. But that's how it is over there. Like, you have no rights as a woman. I got beat up on my ex. I couldn't go to anyone and say help. There's nobody. You know, you're a woman. You're lesser. You're lower than even my testimony in court isn't worth that of a man. It's like 2 of me for 1 man. So I saw a beheading, I saw a stoning, and I witnessed child marriages. I never saw
all in Saudi Arabia.
Not between Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi.
Okay.
Like all those, but Saudi I saw a beheading. Pakistan I saw a stoning. It's supposed to be illegal in Pakistan too. And I saw more child marriages than I even could count in Pakistan. So many. Women being forced to just stay in the house and never ever let outside for anything ever. I mean, there was real, I never saw anyone like get beat up for being an apostate. This woman that got stoned for adultery. It was only that one time. I never saw anyone like get set on fire or anything really, really crazy, except those 2 incidences of extreme violence, because I don't know why the person was being beheaded in Saudi. I never asked. I didn't want to know. But it's not that they force you to watch, but if you're in the vicinity, you have to watch. It's kind of expected. So and as a convert, in the West, I was held up to like a higher regard. Like, people wanted to know me. I was kind of paraded around like a trophy. In the Islamic countries that I was in, I wasn't. I was more looked at like everything I did and said was held to scrutiny much more than anyone else. So if I said anything that was even a little bit too uppity, or a question maybe about the Quran or something that I didn't understand in Hadith, because there's stupid rules, stupid rules. Like, you can't talk in the bathroom because angels will see you naked, and that's terrible. and I don't know that you can't put the Quran on the floor. I got the shit kicked out of me for putting the Quran on the floor, not knowing that wasn't okay. You know, you just put it down next to the sofa or something. So I don't know. There's so many. it's so hard to adopt. I say it was an easy slide into Islam for Mormonism, but adopting Islam and like becoming a Muslim and becoming a part of that environment and culture and religion is hard as a convert.
So in other words, you would think like Islam is like more than a religion; it's more like a way of life.
Absolutely. It's a political ideology. It's cultural. It's the religion. But inherently it's violent. All of it. Little kids are given animals to slaughter and play with the blood. Like that's a fun pastime for little kids in Pakistan. Like a cat, not a lamb. Like say the lamb's being slaughtered and the kids are given like the guts and they just play around with it, like poke the eyeballs, and it's a rite of passage to sacrifice. Not say a baby boy's born, and he has a couple lambs sacrificed because boys get more. They get sweets and 2 lambs to a girl, say 1 lamb and then the meat's supposed to be distributed to the poor for zakat. So in a lot of those countries, they encourage, it's like a rite of passage to do that. And it's not like there's any crazy weird ceremonies. It's just a halal way that they kill the meat, but it's like fun for them. They really, really get off on it. So violence is kind of just bred into them from a really, really young age. So it's hard to watch. It's hard to adopt that lifestyle. And it was hard to see my kids being raised in it.
Like, when was the point when you start to realize that this is enough?
Sadly, it was not the beheading and it was not the stoning. I think that started my questioning and thinking that maybe I wouldn't be safe because my ex's family started telling him that they felt sorry for him because he had to be married to me because I asked too many questions. I was too loud. I had too much of an opinion. And he started to get more violent and more controlling. And I think it was that. It was our relationship. I saw what was happening to some of his other cousins had married white women, like Western converts. And like one of them lost her kids completely. My kids were taken to Pakistan. I had to go to Pakistan to go get them. Like I came home from work, my kids were gone. He had taken them because I'd asked for a divorce. I had to convince him the marriage was fine. Nobody went in to save my kids with guns. It wasn't anything spectacular or amazing, but I had to convince him the marriage was good and that, and go to Pakistan. It took like 6 months and then convince him to move back to the UK so I could get my kids away from Pakistan so I could get to America to get away from them. Because I knew that I was going to lose my kids if I continued down the path that I was on. So it was kind of that. But the final thing that did it was my son telling me he didn't have to listen to me because he was a boy. He was 3 or even younger than that. And he's like, I don't have to, I'm a boy. I was like, what? You know, and that's stupid. That one little thing is what set it off completely when all those other huge things didn't. And that's how it happened.
Wow. It's like, it's not the beheadings. It's not like the guts. It's just your son.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
It's just so strange, actually. Like, I would think the beheadings would be enough, actually.
Yeah. You know, you would think, I'm sure that put something in, I was horrified. But at the time, I was such a strong believer in it. I believed that the person that was getting beheaded deserved it. So if that makes sense, like you only got punished if you had done something to deserve the punishment. So yeah. I was a sympathizer of the extreme nature of Islam at that time. So it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. It when I look back, I'm like, what the fuck? Like seriously?
Yeah, I'm just freaking out just listening to this. Like, what led you to atheism?
A friend of mine that I had grown up with, I had gotten back in touch with, who found out that I had converted to Islam, freaked out, was like, what? You know, this was he had been Mormon and then he had left the Mormon church. So he kind of understood where I was coming from, but he said, I can convince you there's no God in 5 minutes. And I was like, nah, fuck off. and I said, I can convince you there is a God in 5 minutes. Like, that's how I was so sure of myself. so sure that it hadn't been explained to him the right way. So he said to me two things. Flying pink unicorn, I believe in them. And I have a book here that says that flying pink unicorns exist. Prove to me they don't. I'm like, I can't. That's stupid. They don't exist. He's like, God. And then I started thinking, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All this time, like there's no proof. Nothing is ever in the Bible. All this proof was there. And, you know, in modern times, there's no proof except for a feely good inside my body that tells me this is all true. Mormons are big on feelings. Like they call it feeling the spirit. It's the spirit of the Holy Ghost that comes inside and gives you a burning of the bosom. So that's how you confirm everything, is with feelings. And my whole life, that's all I paid attention to, was how it made me feel. Anything. I made decisions based on feelings for forever because of that. I didn't understand being rational or reasonable or skeptical or any of that. So
So basically, because of your friends, you actually learned about logic and started to realize that logically it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he also mentioned to me about people are going to go to hell, right? And I was like, yeah. And he said, so God knows already when you're born who's going to hell. So he's made people specifically to be tortured forever. He created you knowing that you were going to fuck up and you were going to be tortured forever. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. So it didn't take 5 minutes, but it took, he left me with that. And I went and I thought about it. And over the next like 5 or 6 hours, my world around me collapsed. And I started Googling, and I started reading, and I couldn't stop for, I don't know. It was like 3 days. I could not stop reading anything I could get my hands on about atheism and that there was no God. I never even considered the concept that there was no God. Ever.
Yeah, I felt the same way when I was like deconverting myself. Like when I was younger, like I never really was around people who didn't believe in any God. And so it was more recently that I realized that there were actually people that did not believe in any God.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that people existed like that. They could even just be. It was like, whoa, that's amazing. Really? People are raised like
I guess during like when I was younger, I was actually aware that people didn't believe in the older gods like the Zeus and the Store and the other kind of gods, but I didn't realize people did not believe in the God that we know today.
Yeah, it makes it. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, it's funny how people don't believe in those gods, but the God of today is the real one. Those people were wrong back then, but this one's the real one. And it just seems so absurd looking at it now. It's very absurd.
It's basically like a repeat of history, essentially.
Yeah.
And like, did your kids actually went to atheism naturally, or did they decided upon themselves that they don't believe in God anymore?
I honestly think my daughter still has some slight belief. I think that we've had a lot of discussions about it, and I just think there's something there for her. I don't think she has really come to that conclusion yet. Not completely. My son has, for sure. And that's without me telling him. Although I'm real open with them about my skepticism, or even because I had no interest in science. I had no interest in the universe, the age of anything. For me, the Bible and the Book of Mormon and the Quran and Hadith, they held all the answers. I didn't need anything else. So I didn't look outside of those. I was uneducated and ignorant. And so as I have learned over the years, since like the last 7 years or so, my kids have learned with me. So up until my atheism, we were religious, whether it was between Islam or kind of tried to go back to the Mormon church. But even with Islam, we only stopped like praying 7 years ago or 6.5 years ago. So they have kind of come on this journey with me. So I think that as I have grown, they've grown too. And so it kind of was natural for them.
Like, are you like the only non-believer in your family?
Yeah.
I could feel the same way. Like me and my brother are like the only non-believers in our family.
I'm the outcast. I'm the one that nobody wants to know.
Like, do you have any advice for people who want to raise their kid without religion?
um, I think it's the best thing you could do. I think religion is child abuse. I think it makes kids more moral and better people, more empathetic, more kind. Just I'm a better person now. I treat people better. My actions mean more. There's a lot of reasons why being an atheist has made me into a better person, but I think it's so important to raise your kids with truth. And even if it's uncomfortable, truth is better than lies. And it's hard sometimes. In my part of the world, it's not hard to be an atheist. Get looks sometimes. I've had to argue at school a couple times. But in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, being an atheist, it's a very brave decision. And raising your kids as atheist kids, it's a very brave decision. And anyone that wants to raise their children like that, I just encourage just to stand up for yourself and just say, this is how it is. And this is how I'm going to raise my kids. Like, I encourage my children to not accept any kind of dogma at school. Like some of the teachers will bring up God. My daughter's health teacher told her the reason why they have to take care of themselves is because God commands it. I'm like, nah, we're not having this in a public school. So I'm not terrible. I don't nitpick, but when they're trying to put it on my children, I'll say something. I'm not going to sue the school for it, but I'll say, please don't do that in front of my children. I don't appreciate that. And I think it's important. I think it's important to separate, religion from education. And it does children an incredible disservice to raise them to not have critical thinking skills. It's such a disservice to them.
Speaking about skill, like, what do you think about the Pledge of Allegiance? One nation under God.
I had a friend growing up that was a Jehovah's Witness, and she wouldn't stand up to say the pledge. And because I like to be contrary, there was a time that I refused to stand up and say the pledge. And I almost got in a fight with one of my teachers, but I wasn't doing it because I cared or that I believed in it, just because I didn't want to do it because she wasn't doing it. But now, like, my kids, I don't think my kids have ever stood up and said the Pledge of Allegiance, like at school or anything, because at least in the schools they've been in, they don't really push it. But when we were in Texas, like, it was pushed so hard, and I had a really hard time with it. Like, fine, pledge allegiance to the country and everything else, but it's a flag, and I have issues with pledging, one nation under God, as you said. And that wasn't even there; it was added. Like,
yeah,
why are we doing this?
Yeah, it was like in the 1950s, I believe.
Yeah. It wasn't even on the money, was it?
No, it was like in the 1950s, it started to add under God in the money and also the pledge.
That's insane. I know. No.
But anyway, any final words before we end this chat?
Fuck Islam.
What a fantastic way to end this chat. Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate you coming and being interviewed.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
No problem.
It's fun.